John here, and today we're going to talk about and review Fade to Black, the 1980 film which stars Dennis Christopher. And the plot here, you have Dennis Christopher in the film, who's Eric Binford. He's a shy and lonely character, and he's a big movie fan, and he often immerses himself in fantasies about cinematic characters and stars, and often pretending to be heroes and villains from the silver screen. But soon his sanity takes a turn for the worse, and he begins to commit grotesque murders patterned after characters from his beloved movies. And that's the plot to the film here. But the film here is written and directed by Vernon Zimmerman. Unfortunately, he passed away last year. But what he's directed, I looked up some of these movies, never heard of, such as Deadhead Miles, The Unholy Rollers, and he wrote the 1989 film Teen Witch. The score to the film here is by Craig Safan, who provided the scores for other movies, such as Thief and The Last Starfighter. Now I get into the cast here of the film. Again, Dennis Christopher plays the main character, Eric Binford. Dennis Christopher, the one film that I know him from is Stephen King's It. I forgot the character, but he played one of the adults in that part of the film, the miniseries. But he was in that. He was in Breaking Away, which was kind of his breakout role. Now you have Tim Thomerson here from the Trancers films, and also Uncommon Valor. He's kind of a social worker character here in the film, a doctor. You have Gwen Guilford in the film, who's his female officer, and she's working with Tim Thomerson. Now, during the filming of this movie here, Gwen Guilford was pregnant with Chris Pine. Yes, she is the mother of Chris Pine. So I didn't know that until I looked it up. You have Linda Carriage in the film, who plays this character Marilyn O'Connor, and she is the... So there's a thing in the film where our main character is obsessed with Marilyn Monroe, and he begins to fixate on this girl that resembles Marilyn Monroe, the character of Marilyn O'Connor. You also have the aunt in the film, who is the aunt of the main character, played by Eve Brent. Mickey Rourke is in the film here. Yeah, Mickey Rourke in an early role. He's in the film for a little bit, not a whole lot, but he's there. So it's cool to see Mickey Rourke here in the cast. But the cast is good here. Dennis Christopher's performance here for me is effective. Being this movie fanatic, again, being shy and lonely and awkward, and maybe Dennis Christopher is not cut out for a leading man, especially at this time or at any time, but I do think he plays the character quite well. And the little touches that really add to the character, you see in the beginning where his apartment is filled with movie posters and movie memorabilia, and he works at this film distribution warehouse. And even in that warehouse, you see posters of Close Encounters and Halloween. So 20 minutes into this movie, and I'm like, yeah, this is my kind of movie. Being a big movie fan, and I love the little touches in the film. And throughout the movie, the character Eric Binford, he would test people on their movie knowledge, by, who played this in that movie, because he has this random movie trivia that he's always thinking about. And he's like, I bet you didn't know that, that kind of thing. And again, Dennis Christopher, he really sells the awkwardness of the character well, and then the snap of the character. As we see throughout the movie, this character really, he has gone off a cliff mentally, and he begins a streak of murders. And he begins, as he kills each person, like for every kill, he changes his appearance. On the back here, like you see these characters. And, it's a really it's a psychological look at movie fandom gone too far, and even Dennis Christopher talked about that in an interview on the Blu-ray here about how there's some horror in this film, but it's more psychological. And I agree with that assessment that this film here, I would say it's like 75% psychological and 25% horror. There's some interesting kills here in the film, which I'll talk about, but it is kind of a psychological look at, a fan that, takes it too far. And I got more thoughts on that later. And like I said earlier about the girl that resembles Marilyn Monroe, the character of Eric Binford is fixated on this girl. You have Tim Thomerson, who is trying to, figure out, who's killing these people. And I like Tim Thomerson in the film. I could have used a little bit more of Tim Thomerson. Maybe you could have had a scene between him and Eric Binford, early on in the film where they have one encounter. They kind of wait to the third act of the film to have Tim Thomerson confront Eric Binford. But there's a little kind of a playful romance between Tim Thomerson and the Gwen Guilford character. I don't know if you really needed that in the film. It didn't really add much to the plot. But I liked Tim Thomerson. Again, I could have used a little bit more of him in the film. And like I said, with the character of Eric Binford, he would change his appearance to certain characters whenever he would commit a murder. So you have these characters on the back here. You have the Dracula bit. The Mummy, not the strongest scene. I will admit to that. The scene with the mummy, it's not the strongest, but I will say my favorite is the Hopalong Cassidy. That scene with the mask and the way that scene plays out, I thought it was a little bit creepy. And I like the atmosphere of that one, scene, where he's dressed up as Hopalong Cassidy. And then later on in the film, you have a scene where he's portraying a mobster and he kills his producer. And I thought that was a fun bit. And then at the end of the film, you got the old third act in the Man's Chinese Theater where Tim Thomerson is pursuing Eric Binford. Eric Binford has the Marilyn character with him. And long story short, I guess I can spoil it. This film's been out for a minute. But basically, they shoot him dead. The character of Eric Binford at the end of the film. But, what really worked for me, with Fade to Black here, is the atmosphere and the vibe of the film. It really worked for me. And like I said, I don't know if I really would say this is a horror film, but there are some, elements of horror in there. Again, I would say it's more psychological, with a little dash of horror, via the kills. And there's some fun elements in here too, like some bits of dark humor and the direction. There's some over-the-top elements in terms of the direction, but I think it really fits the film, what the film is, and the character of Eric Binford. And two, what this film also did a little bit afterwards is made me think a little bit about being a fan. Now, I'm still going to love movies. That's not going to change, but it does make you think a little bit about being a fan. And if sometimes, because that's all we think about, we get sometimes caught up in our own little box or bubble that we don't want to leave, and we separate ourselves from reality because it's all we think about is movies. It's all we think about is our collection. What we always think about is that next DVD or Blu-ray that we have to have, or, the way that we idolize certain movies of the past and even today. So it does make you think a little bit about that. And I wonder too, if you took this concept, and I'm not talking about a reboot or a remake, but if you took a page from this movie and applied it today, and if you make this type of film, what would that look like now? This is 1980. It's 2024. And you look at fandom now and how much that has blown up in the past 40 years. And today, when you factor in social media and all this stuff, and the convention scene, that's really blown up. And how us fans, we go to these conventions and we get autographs, we meet the stars, we get photos, we get merchandise. We do videos where we talk about where what we've picked up. Now we have this movie now, we have this NECA figure. Again, the way that we look at movies now, it's so completely different. I mean, it's just, I think it's gotten bigger and there's more avenues. There's different things that we take in as fans, whether it's the conventions or social media, Instagram. There's so much out there that, again, I would love to see this kind of film, maybe a similar concept done, be done today. But that's kind of a little side tangent there. And the Blu-ray here, you have quite a few features. I love that poster more. And I love the tagline that on the back here. People used to laugh at Eric Binford. Now with every performance, he knocks them dead. I like that. But the features on here, you have a commentary track with the lead, Dennis Christopher. Commentary track, historical commentary track with them historians. So there's a commentary on here with Dennis Christopher, which I have to, I now want to go back and look at, because I did see the interview. But you got some interviews on here with the special effects artist, the composer, an interview with the editor, audio interview with Linda Carriage. So yeah, you got some good stuff on here. With all that being said, let me get to my overall thoughts on Fade to Black. But Dennis Christopher brings an intriguing performance here that takes movie fandom and obsession down a dark path. Very interesting script and atmosphere that really kept me engaged. Some fun moments and somewhat psychological. Fade to Black. If you're a movie fan, horror fan too, but I would think too, if you're a movie fan, definitely, if you haven't seen this, check out Fade to Black. That's it for now. Thank you for watching, and I will see you later. Big shout out to Kevin. Thank you for the support. And if anybody is interested in being credited like Kevin here at the end of movie reviews, movie-related topics, and other content of the channel, I will leave a link down below to my Patreon, and there you will find crediting. Thank you for watching, and take care.